Hi guys, it's Tammy from Pretty Presets, and I'm going to do a quick video on how I was using Juniper and the sync function to edit my jumping on the bed photos. I didn't use a whole bunch of them right here. I just made sort of a quick set of, I think it's 14 or 15, so that I can show you more quickly what it is that I did. So here I am in Lightroom. I've got my film strip down here on the bottom. I've got my first photo selected, and I am just going to edit it with Juniper from our fan favorites. Hit Juniper. Obviously, there's already a huge change. It changes all the whites, which is my favorite part about Juniper is what it does when there is a lot of white in the photo. But these boys are very tan, and sometimes anywhere that there's shadows, you can have a little bit of warmth and a little bit of orange with Juniper. So what I usually do is come right over here to the color panel. In my reds, I turn it down to about -5, and in my oranges, I come down to about -12. And to me, that makes their skin tone look really good, and it's just really that fast. So I'm done with that part. The other thing I'm going to do to adjust over here is down here in lens correction, which I usually use this all the time, enable profile corrections. You can see what it did there. It adjusts them. It adjusts when your lens can do distortion, and some of them are worse. 35mm does it quite a bit because it's kind of wide, so sort of the wider your lens is, the more you're going to have that. But it also, if you can see, brightens around the edges of the photo, which I really like usually. So those are the two adjustments that I'm going to make, and I'm going to show you here. I'm not going to use a radial filter on these, and I'm going to click through them really quick because I'm facing the subjects are facing my light on this big window where I'm standing. There's a lot of light, so they don't need to be brightened up at all. But then when I come over here to these, I'm shooting from over here on the left side of the room, and they have some shadow. Kenzie has some shadow on her face right here and stuff like that. So these are the photos that I am going to put a radial filter on, but I'm not going to put them on all of them. But I'm going to show you how you don't have to put it on all of them, but you can still use the sync feature. So I'm going to come back here to my first one, their skin tone. I changed the profile correction, and I'm just going to hold Shift and click on my last photo over here. It's going to highlight all these photos for me, and I'm going to hit sync. It's going to let me choose right here. This pops up. I don't ever do the transform, and I don't do spot removal or crop. Those are things that I leave out, but everything else, I have those checked, and hit synchronize. And you can see down here, if they just start popping up as they get done. So the next step that I'm going to do with these, because there is some of them that need radial filters and some of them that don't, I'm going to click on my first one here that needs a radial filter, at least in my opinion. Some people will probably leave it like this and it would be fine. But I'm going to hit my filter here. I'm going to hit shadows. And the last time I did this, I had it set to 30, but you can adjust this if you want to. I'm going to set it at about, probably right around 20. Make sure it's on invert, so it goes inside the circle. And I think that's enough, but let me adjust. And you can adjust any of these sliders while your filter is on there. So yeah, I'm going to turn up the exposure just to a tad, shadows. I'm going to scoot the filter a little bit this way because I want it more on Kenzie than on Lexi. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Stretch it out a little bit. I'm going to hit done. And then I'm going to click outside of my film strip so that they're no longer all selected, and then click back on that one that I just did the filter on. Then the same thing, Shift, hit to the end, and I'm going to sync those again and hit synchronize. And it's going to put that filter that I put on her on all the rest of these images. So when I go on to this next photo, I can click on the filter and see it brings up my pin, and all I have to do is slightly adjust it in the photo to where I want. And I can, if I think this one's too bright, I can still adjust this within here, but I don't, it's fine. And also, another tip, you don't have to push done every time. If you want to adjust the filter in the next photo, just click on the next photo, and it will keep you in this filter here, and then you can just grab the pin and move it to where you need it. And then just click into the next one, same thing. I'm still in here, so it's going to bring it up as soon as it loads. Grab that pin, scooch it over, and with them, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger to include this shadow area over here. I want a little bit more brightness on this whole side over here, so I'll just make it a little bit bigger and pull it over here where I need it, and maybe even turn the shadows up a little bit more. Happy with that. Click into the next one. And same thing, I'm just going to move this a little bit. And sometimes you get luckier than other times. And sometimes if you make the filter larger, it obviously is going to cover more area. So on to the next one. Still inside here, so it's going to pop up. This one too, it's a little bit more shadowed because his face is facing away from my light source, my window over here. So I'm going to turn those shadows up just a little bit more. And my exposure. Make this filter a little bigger so that I'm catching my shadows over here on the left side of the bed. And then on to the last one here. Same thing, I'm still inside of here. I'm not re-clicking it, I'm still in there. Make this a little bit bigger here too. I want it more so over here, so I drag it that way. She doesn't need as much here. Turn those shadows up just a little bit again. There we go. And then now that I'm done here at the end, I'm going to hit done. The only other thing that you can't use with your sync that I wish worked better is, and I don't know if a lot of you use this in the transform, this auto, I'm telling you, it is excellent. It really finds the lines, and it gives you a really, really good line. It straightens your photo really nicely. I use auto almost all the time, and I used to sort of individually mess with these to get everything exactly straight, and now I use auto so often, and it really is right almost all the time. So this is something that you do have to go through individually. If you turn it on the first one, what it will do is actually sync all of your photos to the same correction, and obviously that's not going to work out very well. So you do have to click through and hit auto. Now sometimes you don't have to straighten as much, but in this situation, I mean, everybody's bouncing, there's a lot of action, it's fast, it's kids, so no matter what, I was not seeming to keep myself very straight. So, and obviously I don't need to show you guys every single time that I do this, but you can see how auto is working really, really well. It's really straightening my lines, it's straightening you know, the floor and my lines and lines on the wall. There's a lot of lines in these photos. Outside, you're really not going to have that many lines, but when you're trying to shoot stuff inside, you've got counters, walls, floors, picture frames. There are so many lines that you can use to straighten things off of that sometimes it can get confusing. So using the auto is a good way to do that. And then I'll just show you here after this last one. I'll click into the library, do this view, and you can see how they all match up really, really well. Any of these could be printed together, hung together. You know, they would make a nice collage. They all matched really, really well, and that was super fast. So I hope that was helpful, and let me know if you were confused by any of that or if you have additional questions, and I'll try and get those answered. Thanks.